Hello everybody, it is the Dark Conservatarian here with the Strike Force Quickie. And I just wanted to get this off my chest about this article that I had run across like a few weeks ago. And it's from cnsnews.com saying, Pelosi, no child should be denied a loving home because family that wishes to adopt them is LGBTQ. Now, as most of you probably will know, cnsnews.com is what I consider to be a fairly reliable news site. At least I rely on them a lot for my news, especially economic and international news. But there's a side of cnsnews.com that is more of the traditionalist, conservative Christian brand type of opinion and blog posts that they put out occasionally. Some of them in the title are just like quotes from the former Reverend Billy Graham, who is now dead, by the way. And it's just pretty much opinion pieces when it comes to social issues and so on and so forth. And this is kind of looking to be one of those issues right there. And most of the time, whenever I come across the titles of those types of articles, I go thinking to myself, yeah, I kind of disagree with that article, even just by looking at the title and the surface of that article. And this article right here looks like it's going to be kind of one of those articles that I will partially disagree with. Or at least that's what cnsnews.com almost is giving off the message of, is that they are quoting Nancy Pelosi in a way of implying that they disagree with her. Now, I don't know that for certain, that's why I wanted to check out this article. But just by going off of the surface here, just looking at the Pelosi quote, I actually agree with what she is saying right here. No child should be denied a loving home because family that wishes to adopt them is LGBTQ. Now, as much as I can, empathize and somewhat agree with traditionalist conservatives that it would be best if a child was, raised in a two-parent home, one of them being a male and one of them being a female, in other words, a hetero couple, as much I may think that it's a little bit healthier, I still think that them being adopted, just in general, is a whole lot better than them living a lonely life in the foster system or getting death. Like, for example, the way that I prioritize my morals is that I would much rather see a kid adopted by a transsexual lesbian couple than if they were to live their entire life alone in the foster care system, or even worse, if they were to be aborted before they were ever even put up for adoption. So that's how I prioritize that. And plus, just in general, as a libertarian, I think that any parent should really be allowed to adopt a child, as long as they do not go violating, the rights of the child in such an explicit manner like their right to life or commit pedophilia or something like that. So, on with the article. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat of New York, wait.
What? What the fuck?
I thought Nancy Pelosi was from California. Hold on a second. Okay, so this has turned out to be a real freaking big disappointment of cnsnews.com. I just searched it up myself on Google, and just going off of right off the bat, I'm seeing the little Wikipedia side screen pop up for me in my search here, and just scrolling down a little bit here, Representative Democrat of California since 2013. So yeah, freaking Nancy Pelosi is from California, not New York. Like, holy crap, this just strikes the credibility of CNSnews.com in my eyes. Like, how can you make such a blatant mistake like this, CNS News?
You done messed up, Aaron!
God. I might not rely as much on CNSnews.com from now on. Or at least, who is the writer of this article? Let me see who is the writer. Who's the writer? I'm not seeing in the annotations here of who the writer is exactly. Maybe the person was so embarrassed that they made such a big fuck up like that they decided, I do not want my name on such an article. Like, holy crap! How do you make a mistake like this? Anyway, I'm done getting worked up with that, so I'm just going to continue on. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat of California, put out two tweets on February 14 in which she condemned a contemplated change by the Department of Health and Human Services that would allow Christian adoption agencies that receive government funding to not place children non-Christian parents or same-sex couples. What I think of that is that I think that the adoption homes should... Okay, if they're like government ran or something, if these agencies right here are publicly owned, well then yeah, by law they should not be discriminating against people based on sexuality or race or whatever else have you. But if these are private organizations, well then I say take the government funds out of this, take the government subsidies out of these businesses and just let them do business on their own. And if they want to deny service, as much as I believe that they should not deny service to transsexual lesbians, for example, the ability to adopt a child, as much as I disagree with them denying them that, I still think that it is their private property rights to deny such service. That is, if these are like private organizations. But if they're public organizations, I do not see why this is even being debated over, really. The public sector, it is not the government's job to discriminate against people within a given country of who can do what, etc., and so on and so forth. No child should be denied a loving home because the family that wishes to adopt them is LGBTQ or a religious minority, Pelosi wrote in one tweet. Wow. Okay. Yeah, like I said, agreeing so far, even though that Nancy Pelosi is pretty much one of the biggest morons ever to grace the House of Representatives, I'm just agreeing with the mere platitude that she is speaking right here. The Trump administration must deny states' unconstitutional waiver requests and make such child welfare stays at the heart of our state child welfare systems, she wrote. I applaud Representative Sean Maloney, Representative Angie Craig, and Representative Katie Hill for leading the charge against the blatantly unconstitutional attempt to follow the GOP's anti-LGBTQ, anti-Semitic, and anti-Muslim bigotry to take root in our foster and adoption systems, she wrote in another tweet. No child should be... they're just repeating what she said. This tweet linked to a press release the three congressmen she mentioned had put out to draw attention to a letter they had sent to HHS Secretary Alex Azar. LGBTQ parents Representative Sean Patrick Maloney, New York 18, and Representative Angie Craig, Minnesota, I think MN is the right initials for Minnesota, 02, and fellow Congressional LGBT Equality Caucus co-chair Representative Katie Hill, California 25, led a letter to HHS Secretary Alex Azar opposing his department's decision to issue a waiver to South Carolina, allowing the state to sidestep Obama-era regulations preventing child welfare agencies from discriminating on a religious basis, the press release said. Okay. I'm getting a whole lot of the implication that these are public entities. Like, for all the ANCAPs in my fan base, they can go ahead and propose the privatization of these agencies instead of them being publicly owned. But as it stands with them being publicly owned, it is not the government's job, again, to be discriminating based on XYZ arbitrary characteristic. Last month, HHS issued the waiver to South Carolina allowing, and again, I must interrupt myself. This kind of reminds me of the whole Kim Davis situation. Like, it's okay if she was to, like, deny service if she was, like, a private employee or something like that, but that's not the case with her. She was, like, a public sector Kentucky or Tennessee, whatever state it was, worker, state worker issuing out marriage licenses. So it ain't her job, along with the government, to be discriminating based on sexuality, who is to get a marriage license, etc. Last month, HHS issued the waiver to South Carolina allowing state-contracted child welfare agencies to discriminate against otherwise qualified prospective parents who do not share their religious beliefs, the release said. Since the waiver was issued, President Trump has spoken out in support of continued federal funding for foster care agencies that turn away same-sex couples applying to be foster and adoptive parents, the release said. Wow. In support of... wow. Okay. So this is kind of contradictory here because President Trump... I remember in a past episode of Strike Force, I had read an article talking about how I cannot remember the article's name or the news site's name, but the article was talking about of how being pro-LGBT or being for decriminalizing LGBT rights, etc., or actions and whatnot, is racist somehow. And that was Trump being pro-LGBT is the point that I'm trying to make in that example. But then this just runs in straight up contradiction of that earlier principle that he was setting out to hold up. Now he's going against the principle of, being pro-LGBT rights and just pro-liberty in general in that area. So, Trump, you done goofed. Last Friday, the Washington Post reported that the administration intends to propose broad authorization for foster care and adoption agencies nationwide to discriminate in child welfare services and reject LGBTQ parents, non-Christians, and others. It said 95 members of the House signed the letter. End of article. And if I may comment, what I said earlier about CNSnews.com might be disagreeing with Nancy Pelosi's own words right there. I take that back. It seems that they are not necessarily disagreeing with Nancy Pelosi's words or Trump or anyone else that they reported on in this article right here. They were just merely reporting the facts is all that they were. And that's all that I have to say about this article right here. If any of y'all have further commentary on this article that I just read to you in this Strike Force Quickie, this Strike Force editorial, whatever you want to call it, well then leave those comments down below, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.